All right, so we are just 8 weeks from the midterms, and Republicans are desperate to change the conversation. Gas prices, what the GOP has rallied around for months, well, they have fallen for more than 90 straight days. Ukraine, which was once seen at best as a quagmire and at worst a lost cause, is seeing some major military gains in the battlefield. Abortion has driven young people and women to register to vote, and polls are indicating far better outlooks for Democrats than once anticipated, including for President Biden, who has seen his approval rating jump 9 points in the last few weeks. So when the planned talking points for the Republican Party begins to fall apart, they use the one tool that they've used for decades to rile up their base: dehumanizing poor, innocent brown people. Look at the gross inhumanity we saw this week from Republican Governor Ron DeSantis. 50 Venezuelan migrants, 50 men, women and children with nothing to their names beyond what they could carry on their backs, found themselves the victims of a ruse so cartoonishly vile it boggles the mind. DeSantis shipped these men and women, according to reports, under false pretenses, promising free housing, fast-track visa applications in Boston to lure as many asylum seekers as possible onto a pair of planes destined not for Boston, but Martha's Vineyard. He didn't inform the governor of Massachusetts, a Republican, by the way, nor the White House. He only told the Fox propaganda network. Now, DeSantis' intent, I suppose, was to show the New Englanders are somehow just as racist and as xenophobic as he and his cronies are. He failed miserably. In fact, the residents of the island welcomed the migrants with open arms, providing them with food, shelter, COVID-19 tests, and the means to reach their loved ones in Boston. The godless libs, as DeSantis and his ilk are so fond of grousing about, proved themselves to be far more Christian than their faux fundamentalist friends thought possible. Because, and let's be clear here, there's nothing Christian about dehumanizing migrants for political purposes. Up until now, DeSantis has gotten away with this for two reasons. One, because many in the news media are distracted by shiny objects, stopping their reports about lower gas prices and Biden's good poll numbers to talk about how politically savvy DeSantis is being. And as an aside, it's disgusting to see members of the news media talk in such crass political terms about human lives. And the other reason DeSantis is getting away with this is because the men and women and children that he preyed upon were people of color, people who speak a different language, and who in so many ways are not seen as, quote, real by far too many Americans. They're seen as the other, something less human. But these migrants are human, and they don't deserve to be treated like political pawns. DeSantis is so cravenly political, he never dared attempt to transport undocumented Cuban migrants from Florida. No. He knows all too well that Cuban Americans yield significant political clout in his state. So he takes even more marginalized communities and abuses them, treats them like cattle, because they don't have the agency or means to defend themselves. Ron DeSantis is a modern-day version of the Southern segregationists who 60 years ago, enraged by the progress Black Americans were making during the Civil Rights Movement, deceived some 200 Black Americans into boarding buses that would move them from below the Mason-Dixon line to Massachusetts. Those racists also wanted to expose liberal hypocrisy, and they, too, failed. Because unfortunately for the bigoted Ron DeSantis and the bigots who champion him and the bigots who came before him, there are an awful lot of Americans who welcome outsiders, and they don't flinch when they read the words scrawled on the Statue of Liberty, "Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." One of those Americans, Massachusetts State Representative Dylan Fernandes, will join us after the break to talk about this.